This week on my top 7 greatest of all time, we got the quarterback receiver duos, and I'm passionate about this because I had a chance to play with some great receivers in Deshaun Jackson, Roddy White, Jeremy Maclin, guys who can go get the football and made me so much better. So here's my top 7. I'm Michael Vick, and this is QB7. Number 7, Chad Ochocinco, Carson Palmer. Now this duo kind of flew under the radar, didn't have a good team, but they did some really good things together. For one, Chad Ochocinco had 500 receptions from 2004 to 2010 and over 8,000 receiving yards. That's a great stretch within that span. Carson Palmer was very consistent and he knew Chad Ochocinco was his guy. Those guys meshed well and they really connected on a bunch of different occasions. Asked a lot of those teams in the AFC North. Number 6, Dante Culpepper, Randy Moss. Now this may shock a lot of people, but you gotta go back and watch the film. Over a 4-year stretch, 49 touchdown passes between the two, over 5,500 receiving yards, and video game-like numbers. If you go back and watch, Randy Moss was unstoppable in the things that he was able to do versus any defense, and I think with over 300 catches between those two, you cannot say that they wasn't the greatest duo of all time from 2000 to 2003. Number 5, Kurt Warner, Torrey Holt. Considered the greatest show on turf, throwing in the fact that Isaac Bruce was a part of that. Kurt Warner threw for over 12,000 yards in 3 seasons and 98 touchdowns. That's almost 30 touchdowns a season. Numbers that I would have loved to have. Torrey Holt was fast. He could get in and out of his breaks, and there was a reason playing on that turf they was able to beat defenders and beat defenses all over the field. Now I will say this, he did have Isaac Bruce on the other side to complement the things that he was able to do, but it opened it up for Torrey Holt, and I think he was more so eye candy for Kurt Warner than Isaac Bruce was, but they both was a dynamic duo. Number 4, Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison. Now before Peyton arrived, Marvin Harrison did not have 1,000 yards receiving in his first 2 seasons. Peyton gets there, 8 straight seasons of 1,000 yards, and to cap it off, over 1,000 receptions or close to it. Rounded off, yes, it's 1,000, look it up, but he put in the work, and this was a dynamic duo that ranks number 4 on my list. Number 3, my 2 faves of all time, Steve Young, Jerry Rice. Now we all seen Jerry Rice catch a ton of balls here and there, but it was over 700 of them in the span of 8 years. Over 10,000 yards receiving coming from Steve Young and over 85 touchdowns to cap it off. This duo was very dynamic. John Taylor played a part of that. This probably was before everybody's time. This duo was able to mesh really well along with some other weapons that was centered around the two, which probably was the reason Jerry Rice was able to have over 700 catches in the course of that span. Number 2, Aikman to Irvin, America's team. These two connected for over 700 receptions and over 11,000 yards. On pace to winning 3 Super Bowls and beating my team, the 49ers, a couple times in the process. But they was very dynamic. Michael Irvin was very hard to guard, and he was one of the bigger receivers at the time. Definitely a mismatch with smaller corners. The 700 receptions really attest to that. Number 1, Rice to Montana. I don't have to say anything else. When we all think about the greatest wide receiver quarterback duels of all time, we think about Rice to Montana. Yes, you can think about Rice to Young, you can think about Randy to Culpepper, but when you think about quarterbacks airing it out and finding their top guy on the field, you think about Rice and Montana. I don't even have to throw the stats out there. Just Google Rice to Montana, watch some highlights on YouTube, and see what you get out of it, and you'll understand why they was number 1 on my list. Now you know I got to throw my honorable mention in there, myself to Deshaun Jackson. Google the first play of the Redskins game in 2010. It was unbelievable. Lefty to Deshaun. I can show you how to throw the deep ball. Listen, I'm gonna always refer to Google because that's where everything is at. You can find highlights, you can find whatever you need to learn how to play the game, learn more about the game, find the highlights about the game, but you're gonna see myself with Deshaun Jackson. Disagree with my list? Tweet me your favorite receiver to quarterback duo, and we can chop it up and talk about it.